Chapter 31. By the look on Sam's face I can tell he's just about lost all faith in getting out of here alive. My own shoulders sag as I stare into the massive white eyes of the beast that's rising to its feet in front of us. It takes its time, stretching its muscular neck, veins as thick as Roman columns protruding on both sides. The dark skin on its face is dry and cracked like the stone jutting above its head. With its long arms, it has the look of an alien gorilla. By the time the giant has pushed itself into a full standing position, 50 feet tall, the handle of my dagger has melted itself around my right hand. Flank it! I yell. Sam runs left and I dart right. Its first move is towards Sam, who immediately turns and runs along the circular edge of the moat. The beast lumbers after him, and that's when I sprint towards it and slide my dagger right and left, cutting small chunks from its calves. It rears its head and smashes its nose against the ceiling, and then swings a hand down at me, one of its fingers connecting with my back leg. I'm sent spinning into the wall, where I land on my left shoulder, dislocating it. John! Sam yells. The giant swings for me again, but I'm able to jump out of the path of its fist. The giant may be powerful, but it's slow. Still, the cave we're in is not large enough to run very fast, so, slow or not, it still has the advantage. I don't see Sam anywhere as I stagger from boulder to boulder. The giant has a hard time following me, and once I figure I have enough time, I slowly raise my left arm above my head and rotate my hand so my palm is on the back of my head. The pain shoots from my neck to my heels, and before I give in to it, I keep reaching and feel my dislocated shoulder pop back into place. A sense of relief comes over me, but it's short-lived as I look up to see the giant's palm right above my head. I raise my dagger and its blade punctures the beast's palm, but it's not enough to stop it from wrapping its fingers around me. It picks me up, and the strength of its squeeze causes the dagger to fall to the ground. I hear its diamond blade clang, and as I'm turned upside down, I search for it so I can use my telekinesis to retrieve it. Sam! Where are you? I'm disoriented as the beast turns me right side up again, and it holds me a few feet above its nose. Then I see Sam emerge from a fissure in the wall. He runs and picks up my blade, and a second later the giant squeals in shock and pain. It squeezes me hard, and I push back against its fingers as much as I can. As it stumbles backwards, I'm able to free my shoulders, arms, and hands. I turn on the lights of my palms and shine my lumen directly into its eyes. It's instantly blinded and backs into a wall, and that's when I'm able to pull the rest of my body free and jump. Sam tosses me my dagger and I charge at the beast, plunging the blade into the skin between every toe. The giant howls. It bends over, and when it does I shine my lumen again into its eyes. It loses its balance, and I make a boulder behind it dislodge and slam into its lower back. The beast pitches forward, its long arms straight out to break its fall. Its massive hands land in the moat of steaming green liquid, and the sound of its searing flesh comes a second later. I watch as the beast crashes into the base of the electrical force field and the thick stone pedestals holding the chests. The crash disrupts the force field and sends the pedestals flying across the room, breaking against the stone. The beast lies unmoving. "Tell me you planned that," Sam says, following me towards the chests. "I wish I could," I say. I open my chest to find everything inside, including the coffee can of Henri's ashes and the volatile crystal that's wrapped in the towel. "Looks good," I say. Sam picks up the other chest. "What happens when we go through that door?" Sam says, nodding to the small wooden door we came in through. "We killed the beast and we have the chests, but we can't turn ourselves invisible and just stroll by 100 mogs." I open my chest and handle different crystals and objects, but again I have no idea what most of them do, and the ones I do know how to use can't exactly get me through a mountain of aliens. Looking around the room, I'm losing hope. But it's after studying the giant's melting skin and disintegrating bones that I get an idea. With my dagger back in my jeans pocket, I slowly approach the moat of bubbling green liquid. I take a deep breath and carefully dip a finger in it. Just as I'd hoped, it's scalding hot but merely tickles my skin like fire. It's like green lava. Sam? Yeah? When I say open the door, I want you to open it and get out of the way immediately. What are you going to do? He asks. Visions of Henri running the Loric crystal over me as I lie on the coffee table, my hands in open flames, run through my mind, and I dunk my hand into the moat and pick up a dripping scoop of the green lava. I close my eyes and concentrate, and when I open them the liquid is hovering over my hand in a perfect flaming ball. This, I guess, I say. Wicked. Sam runs over to the wooden door, and I nod to show him I'm ready. He rips the door open and dives to his right. A cluster of heavily armed mogs are running our way, but when they catch sight of the fiery green ball coming their way, they try to turn around. As the ball is about to splash on the chest of the first mog, I use my mind to spread it out like a fiery blanket. Several mogs are hit, and after a moment of burning torture, they turn to ash. I wing ball after ball of green lava at more mogs, knocking them down. Sam collects a pile of their guns, and once there's a lull in the advancement, I grab 2 more balls of green liquid and run out the door. Sam follows me with a long black gun under each arm. The number of mogs running down the dark tunnel is staggering, and with the flashing lights and piercing sirens, it's a sensory overload. Sam pulls both triggers and mows down row after row of mogs, but they keep coming. When he's out of bullets, Sam grabs 2 more guns. I could use some help here, Sam yells, mowing down another line of mogs. I'm thinking. The mucus-covered walls of the tunnel don't appear to lend themselves to spreading a decent fire, and I don't have enough of the green lava in my hands to do enough damage. To my left are the silver gas tanks and silos with their heavy pipes, spouts and aluminium ducts. Next to the tallest of the silos I the control panel with electrical wires pouring out. I can hear the screams and roars of the beasts in the bar chambers farther down the hall, and wonder how hungry they are. I toss a flaming ball at the control panel and it disintegrates in a storm of sparks. The bars of the chambers lining the walls begin to rise, and that's when I toss the other green ball at the base of the gas tanks and silos. I grab hold of Sam and sprint with him back into the giant's chamber. As the explosion erupts, I whip Sam against the stone section between the wooden door and the rising steel gate, and allow the advancing wave of flames to sweep over me. My ears are flooded with the crackle and hum of fire. Dozens of Crowls burst from their open chamber and attack a series of unsuspecting mogs from behind. Several Pittacus stomp into the tunnel with roars and swinging arms. The reptilian mutant with horns charges towards the back of the tunnel, plowing over mogs and Crowls under the legs of the Pittacus. The gargoyle-like winged creatures buzz at the ceiling, swooping down to take a bite out of anything they can. And the monster with transparent skin sinks its rows of teeth into the calf of a Pittacus. That all happens in a matter of seconds, then they're overtaken by a sea of fire. After a few minutes, once the fire escapes up the spiral cavern at the end of the tunnel to continue to wreak havoc throughout the mountain, the long corridor in front of me is littered with ash piles and black monster bones. I extinguish the fire surrounding me and brush my hands off onto my thighs. Sam is singed, but otherwise okay. "Brilliant, dude," he says. "Let's just try to get the hell out of here, and then we can celebrate." I stick my chest under my arm and Sam picks up the other. We race through the fire's destruction, the stench of death is choking. The charred ladder at the end of the tunnel appears stable, and with only one free hand apiece, we climb with difficulty. Our feet hit the burned and blackened spiral ledge, and we sprint around and around until we reach the cave's center. The inferno I unleashed did much more damage than I thought it would, and we see piles upon piles of ash, but we also see hundreds of mogs crawling out of different corridors and tunnels on their hands and knees, burned or still on fire, barking in pain, unable to pick up their guns, unable to do anything as we jump over them. There are other soldiers racing above us on ledges, some with weapons in their arms, others with the wounded. I am confused which way the exit is, and as I lead us through a series of tunnels with my pendant swinging around my neck, Sam and I each pick up a discarded gun. We run with them chest high, firing at anything that gets in our way. Even though we don't know where we're going, we don't stop moving until we come to the cells with human prisoners. That's when I know for certain we've gone the wrong way. I pull Sam in the other direction, but he plants his feet and stops me. I can see the concern and hope on his face. The cells have their steel doors stuck a foot above the floor and the bubbling blue force fields have disappeared. They're open, John. He yells, tossing his chest at my feet. I drop my gun and pick up the other chest, and Sam finally says what I knew he was thinking. What if my dad's here? I look into Sam's eyes, and I know we have to check. He runs along the left side of the corridor, yelling into each cell for his dad. I'm investigating the cells on the right when a boy my age with long black hair sticks his head under a door. When he sees me, he puts a hand cautiously into the corridor. The force field is really gone? He shouts. I think so. I yell. Sam hoists his gun over his shoulder and ducks his head under the boy's cell door. Do you know a man named Malcolm Good? 40 years old, brown hair? Is he here? Have you seen him? Shut up and stand back, kid, I hear the boy say. There's a grittiness to his voice, something that makes me uneasy, and I immediately pull Sam to the side. The boy grips the bottom of the door and rips it from the wall, tossing it into the corridor like a frisbee. The ceiling cracks and boulders fall, and I use telekinesis to shield Sam and me from being crushed. Before I can say a word, the boy emerges clapping the dust off his hands. He's taller than I am, shirtless and muscular. Sam steps forward, and to my surprise he aims his gun at the boy's head. Just tell me. Do you know my dad? Malcolm Good? Please. The boy looks past Sam and his weapon, focusing on the chests under my arms. That's when I notice the 3 scars on his leg. They're just like mine. He's one of us. I drop the other chest to the ground in shock. What number are you? I'm 4. He squints at me and then offers his hand. I'm 9. Good job staying alive, number 4. He reaches for the chest I've dropped. Sam lowers his gun, retreating down the corridor, stopping every few seconds to look inside a cell. 9 places his hand on the chest's lock and it instantly shakes and snaps open. A yellow glow lights up his face when he opens the lid. Hell, yeah? He laughs, placing a hand inside. 9 pulls out a tiny red rock and shows it to me. You have one of these? I don't know. Maybe. I'm embarrassed by how little I understand the items in my own chest. 9 places the rock between his knuckles and aims his fist at the nearest wall. A white cone of light appears, and instantly we can see through the wall and into an empty jail cell. Sam runs in our direction. Wait. You have X-ray vision? What number is the nerd? 9 asks me, digging around in his chest again. That's Sam. He's not Lorik, but he's our ally. He's looking for his dad. He tosses Sam the red rock. This will make shit go faster, Sammy. just aim and squeeze. He's human, dude, I say. He can't use this stuff. 9 places his thumb on Sam's forehead. Sam's hair blows upward and I can smell electricity in the air. Sam stumbles backwards. Whoa! 9 ducks his hands back into his chest. You've got about 10 minutes. Get to it. I'm amazed that 9 has the ability to transfer powers to humans. Sam runs down the corridor, inspecting cells with a flick of the wrist. When he gets to the large metal door at the end, he aims the rock at it, exposing more than a dozen armed Mogs on the other side, and one is twisting together exposed wires in an open keypad. Sam! I yell, picking up my gun. Get back. Whoosh. The door rises and the Mogs rush forward. Sam sprints away, firing over his shoulder. You have any other legacies yet? I ask 9 over the sound of my gun. He winks, and then he's gone, running along the cracked ceiling at super speed. The Mogs don't notice 9 until he's dropped behind them, and by then it's too late. He's a tornado, ripping through them with a ferocity I didn't know Lorik possessed. Even 6 would be impressed. Sam and I stop firing, letting 9 dismember each Mog with his bare hands. When he's finished, 9 runs back along the left wall of the corridor before circling to the ceiling and then to the right wall, a cloud of ash trailing him. Anti-gravity, Sam says. Now that's a cool legacy. 9 skids to a stop in front of his chest and kicks it shut. I can also hear pretty well. For miles. Okay, let's go, I say, scooping up my chest. 9 easily places his on his huge shoulder and grabs a gun from the floor. What about those other cells? He asks Sam, pointing down the corridor. 100 or more cell doors line the walls past where the Mogs had entered. We have to go, I say, knowing we're already pushing our luck. It's only a matter of seconds before we'll be surrounded. But there's no persuading Sam. He runs under the large door, still holding the red rock. Another dozen Mogs suddenly emerge from a hidden tunnel entrance between us. Sam braces himself against the wall and fires. I see a few of the Mogs burst into ash, but then my view is blocked by a swarm of drooling Crowls. Focusing my thoughts on a boulder, I whip it at the Crowls, smashing all but a few. 9 catches a Crowl by its back legs, and slams the beast against the wall. He crushes another 2, and when he's done he turns to me, laughing. I'm about to ask him what's so funny when he launches a boulder right at me. I barely jump out of the way, and a moment later my back is covered with black ash. They're everywhere. He laughs. We have to get to Sam. I tried to run past 9 when an enormous python hand snatches us both. Sam. I yell. Sam. Sam doesn't hear us over the sound of his gun. The python pulls us in the other direction, and, in what feels like slow motion, I lose sight of my best friend. Before I can yell again, the python throws us down the opposite tunnel. I hit the wall and land on one chest and the other lands on top of me. The wind is knocked out of me, and when I look up, I see 9 spitting blood out. He's grinning. Are you crazy? I ask. You're enjoying this? I've been locked up for over a year. This is the best day of my life. 2 pythons duck into the tunnel, blocking our direct path back to Sam. 9 wipes the blood from his chin and opens his chest. He pulls out a short silver pipe, and it expands violently at both ends until it's over 6 feet long and glowing red. He runs toward the pythons with the pipe over his head. I stand to join him but feel a jolt of pain in my ribs. I dig inside my chest for my healing stone, but by the time I find it 9 has killed both pythons. Running back along the ceiling, he whirls the pipe at his side, and when he's 20 feet away he yells for me to move. The glowing red pipe sails over my head like a javelin, empaling a python in the stomach. "Don't mention it," 9 says before I can utter a word. More pythons squeeze into the far end of the tunnel, and when I turn around to run, a flock of transparent birds with razor-sharp teeth is flying towards us. 9 grabs a strand of green stones from his chest and flings it towards the flock. It hovers in the air and, like a black hole, sucks the birds into it. He closes his eyes and the stones zip towards the pecans, spinning and unleashing the flock of birds into their faces. 9 points at me and yells, "Boulder them." I follow his lead, rocketing boulder after boulder at the mayhem. The pecans and the birds collapse under our barrage. Several more pecans push their way into the tunnel, roaring. I grab 9's arm to keep him from charging. "They're just going to keep coming," I say. "We have to find Sam and get out of here. Number 6 is meeting us." He nods and we run. At the next opening we veer left, unsure if we're making progress or getting even more lost. More and more enemies appear behind us with every new turn. 9 crashes every tunnel we pass through, bringing down ceilings and collapsing walls with telekinesis and perfectly thrown boulders. We come to a long, low-arching bridge of solid rock, similar to the one Sam and I shuffled along earlier, and below is a steaming pool of green lava. Charging across the other side of the narrow bridge is a thick line of mogs, and behind us several pecans are racing down the tunnel, straight towards us. "Where do we go?" I shout as we step onto the bridge. 9 says, "We go under." 9 grabs my hand as we reach the peak of the bridge, and my world literally flips upside down until we're running along the underside of the arch. Without warning 9 lets go of me, but my shoes still firmly grip the belly of the bridge somehow. I reach over my head and scoop up a pile of the green lava, and by the time we're standing on the other side of the room, I have a perfect green ball of fire in my hand. I wing it at the mogs on the bridge and visualize it spreading over them. I can hear the sizzling of their flesh when we duck into another cave. I'm out of breath when we reach a steep decline. I'm judging the grade of the drop when I'm hit with a blast from behind. I topple forward and fall at an amazing speed, and when the ground finally levels out, my recently dislocated shoulder hits it first. I roll onto my stomach in unimaginable pain. The blast hit me square in the back, and my muscles are stuck in an uncontrollable spasm. I can hardly breathe, let alone search my chest for my healing stone. The only thing I can do is stare at the slivers of moonlight that appear and disappear at the end of the tunnel. The top. It's flapping in the forest wind. I am back to where I started. I hear the sound of rocks crumbling behind me. I'm in more pain than I thought imaginable, and all I can think about is leaving the mountain. Straight ahead. It's the exit. We can regroup out there, I manage. If we can make it outside, then I can heal myself, hide our chests in the forest. And maybe BK can come back in with us now that we've destroyed the gas tanks. The 4 mogs who guarded the entrance are gone, and 9 jumps out through the top and into the forest. I follow. The stench from the dead animal carcasses hits us fast, and we both gag as 9 jogs into a line of trees. I collapse against a trunk. I need 5 minutes, I think. Then we're going back in for Sam. Guns and hands blazing. 9 digs around his chest and I close my eyes. Tears roll down my face. I'm startled by something rough touching my left hand. I open my eyes to see it's Bernie Kosar in his beagle form, licking my fingers. I don't deserve that, I tell him. I'm a coward. I am cursed. He notices my injuries and tears, and then sniffs 9's face before expanding into a horse. Whoa! 9 jumps back. What the hell are you? Chimera, I whisper. He's a good guy. He's Lorik. 9 quickly pets PK's muzzle and then presses a healing stone to my back. As it works through my system, I notice a menacing storm brewing over the mountain. The sky suddenly rages with lightning and booming thunder, and I'm so grateful 6 has returned that I stand, ignoring the remaining pain in my back. The clouds shift and stretch in a way I've never seen before, though, and the sky feels suddenly evil. This isn't 6. She's not back to help. I watch the funnel cloud that I've only seen in my worst visions form. Pittacus rears backward as a perfectly spherical spaceship, milky white like a pearl, sweeps down through the tornado's eye. The ship lands right in front of the mountain's entrance, sending tremors through the ground. In the same way as I had seen in my visions, a door appears from out of nowhere on the ship's side, simply melting away. The Mogadorian leader from my visions, he's here. 9 gasps. Pittacus Ra. He's here. This is it? I'm silent, frozen in fear. So that's his name, I finally whisper. That was his name. For every day they tried to torture me and my Sipan, I'm going to stab him with this. The red pipe glows in 9's hand. Its ends expand with rotating blades. I'm going to kill him. And you're going to help me. Pittacus Ra walks towards the cave's entrance but stops before going in, one massive silhouette, stark and spectral. Through the raging wind and torrential rain, he turns, lifting his gaze in our general direction. Even from as far away as I am, the faint glow of the 3 pendants is unmistakable around his thick neck. 9 and I charge out of the trees with Pittacus galloping behind, but it's too late. Pittacus Ra has disappeared into the cave and the same bubbling blue force field that covered the prison cell doors appears over the entrance. No. 9 yells. He slides to a stop and stabs the ground with his pipe. With my dagger in my hand, I keep going. I hear 9 scream for me to stop, but all I can think about is killing Pittacus Ra, saving Sam and his dad and ending this war, right here, right now. When I hit the blue force field, everything goes black. Chapter 32. Thunder rolls, followed by brilliant streaks of lightning, and in their glare I see the clouds expand and drop. Rain falls in heavy sheets, and the armored Mogadorian looks down at me. He presses the cannon against my blue pendant and says something I can't understand. My wound in my stomach has almost healed, and I hear Ella yell my name over the thunder. If I'm going to die, then I need to release Ella first. One of us needs to live to tell the others. I cautiously lift my hands and envision the trunk separating, when a bolt of lightning cracks in the distance. Less than a second later, the bolt strikes the Mogadorian standing over me, and he turns to ash and is swept away in the wind. I climb to my feet and see that I've opened the beech tree's trunk halfway. I continue to separate the tree as I run towards it. Ella? Are you okay? She spills out of the trunk and falls into my arms. I couldn't see you, she says, squeezing me. I thought I lost you. Not yet, I say, grabbing my chest. Come on. We turn to run, and see Creighton and Hector coming towards us. Hector's been hurt, and his arm is over Creighton's shoulders for support. The wind and rain are raging. Behind them, the first wave of Mogadorians and Crowls are charging up the shore after them. When I see this, I break away a large limb from a dead tree and hurl it hard at the closest pack of Crowls. It knocks down several, but they're back up again in no time. A Mogadorian soldier throws a grenade that I intercept midair with my mind and send right back into his stomach. It explodes, throwing several Mogadorians and Crowls to the ground in soggy bits of ash. I send tree after tree, rock after rock, knocking many to the ground, killing more. Help me! Creighton yells. I rush to take Hector from him. He has a bite wound in his stomach and a bullet hole in his arm, and both are bleeding badly. "Come on, everyone!" Creighton yells, pulling bullets from his coat pocket and quickly sliding them into his gun's empty clip. "We have to get to the dam." I open my mouth to respond, but an enormous lightning bolt snaps over us. It spreads across the sky like the veins of the gods, leaving the distinct taste of metal in the air. A deafening clap of thunder reverberates off the mountains. The wind and rain cease, and the clouds rotate around and around in a massive maelstrom, until a dark, glowing eye forms, staring at us from high over the mountain tops. The Mogadorians are just as mesmerized as we are. The wind kicks up again, and the dark clouds and the thunder and lightning come with it, slow at first, but quickly gaining speed, heading our way. A perfect storm, beautiful at its cataclysmic heart, unlike anything I've ever seen before. All any of us can do is watch the thick clouds rolling towards us with a deep growl. "What's happening?" I scream over the gale force winds. "I don't know," Creighton replies. "We're going to need to find some cover." But he doesn't move, and neither does anyone else. Hector seems to have forgotten all about the pain of his wounds as he watches, too. "Go!" Creighton finally yells, and then he spins around and fires on the Mogadorians to cover us as we run over a slight hill and then down into a valley. I see the dam on my right, which connects two lower mountains. It's too far away to realistically believe we'll reach it. Hector's face has turned white and he's fading fast, and I start looking for a place to rest so I can heal him. Creighton's gun falls silent. I look behind me fearing the worst, but he's merely out of ammo. He chucks the gun over his shoulder and catches up to us. "We're not going to make it to the dam," he yells. "Run to the lake." The rain starts up again as the four of us change direction. Bullets zip into our grassy footprints and ricochet off boulders. The clouds shift over us with a roar. A second later it's as if we've gone under a bridge. The rain just stops. I look over my shoulder and see that just a few paces back, the rain still falls heavy and hard. The wind picks up significantly, and suddenly the Mogadorians behind us are stuck in the worst rainstorm I've ever seen. They completely disappear in a blur. Our shoes slip over the sand on the shore, and Ella and Creighton dive into the water headfirst. "I can't do it, Marina," Hector says, stopping before his feet reach the water. I drop my chest and grab his arm and say, "I can fix you, Hector. You can make it." "It wouldn't make any difference. I don't know how to swim." "I'm Marina of the sea, Hector. Remember?" I allow the iciness to spread from my fingertips to the bullet hole in his arm. I watch it turn from black and gray and red to a tan patch of wrinkled skin. I quickly concentrate on the bite wound on his stomach beneath his shirt, and Hector suddenly stands up straight with energy. I look into his eyes. "As the queen of the sea, I will swim with you." "But you have that," Hector says, pointing at the chest. "You'll have to hold it then," I say, dropping it into his arms. We jog into the water until our feet no longer touch the lake floor, and then I wrap my right arm around Hector's chest and paddle with my left. Hector hugs the chest to his stomach, and he floats on his back, his head just above water. Ella and Creighton tread water in the middle of the lake, and I pull Hector towards them. The clouds overhead dissipate, shrinking into 100 wispy lines of gray in the sky. The advancing Mogadorians are no longer a blur in a rainstorm, and the moment they can see they charge at the lake with dozens of kraals yipping in front of them. A tiny black speck falls from above as the last cloud disappears, and the closer the speck gets, the more it appears to be a human. Wearing a large blue pendant around her neck, she lands on the shore, rippling the sand. It's a strikingly beautiful girl with raven-colored hair, and the second I see her I know she's the one I've been dreaming of, the one I painted on the cave's wall. She's one of us, I shout. The girl looks around, we make eye contact, and then she vanishes a moment later. I'm shocked, crushed, believing I must have imagined her. Where'd she go? Ella asks. The moment I realize Ella saw her, too, that I hadn't imagined her, I watch as the two nearest crowls are somehow yanked backwards in the air. They're hovering, yipping and snarling at something behind them, and then they slam into each other until they fall limp. One crowl goes sailing into the legs of two soldiers, and the other is swung in the air, connecting with other crowls and soldiers. Invisibility. She has the legacy of invisibility. Creighton breathes. She's invisible? I'm amazed and jealous at the same time, but most of all I'm grateful. Every crowl that touches the water is yanked backwards by an unseen hand and slammed into the hard sand or a Mogadorian soldier. A dropped cannon rises from the grass and starts firing in all directions. Crowl after crowl is destroyed. Dozens of Mogadorians burst into clouds of ash. Cannon blasts come from the other side of the lake, and I spin to see 20 or more Mogadorians wading in up to their waists. Rays of light hit the water all around us, creating enough steam that I can barely see Hector in front of me. Ella? I shout. Over here. She yells from my left. Take Hector. She wraps her arm around Hector's chest. Why? Because I'm not going to stay out here while that girl fights all by herself. This is my war, too. Before anyone can stop me, I sink below the surface and the water instantly tickles my lungs. I swim deeper until the green-blue color of the lake becomes gray. I see the hulking body of Olivia below me. She's lying lifeless on the lake floor, clouds of blood billowing from the hundreds of bite wounds on her back. I head towards the opposite shore and after a minute I can see the legs of the Mogadorians. I swim next to the one farthest on the left. I plant my feet in the muddy bottom and launch myself out of the water. The Mogadorian doesn't have enough time to react as I toss him towards the middle of the lake with my mind. I float his cannon into my hands, shoot him, and never let go of the trigger. The Mogadorians along the lake burst into ash, and when I've killed them all, I aim towards the hundreds near the vehicles. There's movement in the water behind me and I'm too slow. A crowl jumps and sinks its teeth into my side. The pain is immediate and horrible, as if someone was holding a hot branding iron to my ribs. The beast whips me headfirst into the water and then against the sand of the shore. I catch my breath and scream as it arcs me back over and into the water again. I'm sure this is how I will die, but suddenly the crowl's mouth widens and releases me. I fall onto my stomach on the shore and watch as the crowl's mouth continues to widen until I hear bones snapping. The raven-haired girl materializes before my eyes, her hands on the beast's quivering lips. She looks back at me before yanking the jaws completely vertical, killing the crowl. Are you okay? The girl asks me. I lift up my shirt and place a hand on my wound. I will be in a second. She ducks a blast from the cannon. Good. What number are you? 7. I'm 6, she says before vanishing. The iciness spreads from my fingers over my body, but I know I won't be able to heal myself completely before the oncoming wave of Mogadorian soldiers reaches me. I roll into the lake and stay underwater. My wound is almost healed when I rise above the surface. Number 6 is on top of one of the armored Humvees with a glowing sword. She's fighting several soldiers at once, hacking off body parts, blocking cannon fire with her blade, using telekinesis to aim a floating cannon high above her so it blasts through dozens of Mogadorians on the formation's edge. She then hurls her sword into a crowd, impaling 3 soldiers at once. Number 6 grabs the large gun mounted on top of the vehicle and mows down dozens of Mogadorians in seconds. There are only 20 or 30 soldiers left. Maybe 4 crowls. Number 6 holds one hand over her head while the gun in the other shoots and destroys the Humvees along the shore. Dark clouds form over the mountains and bolts of lightning crack and split the ground near her. The Mogadorians show fear for the first time, and I watch a few drop their weapons and run towards the woods. Out of the water, I yell, fearful of the lightning. Ella drags Hector to the edge of the lake and Creighton follows. I reach the shore near number 6 and pick up 2 cannons. I struggle to keep my footing as I press both triggers, turning more soldiers to ash, destroying 2 of the crowls. An injured soldier hiding behind a wrecked Humvee tosses a grenade at number 6's back, but I'm able to shoot it in the air. The explosion rotates number 6 and the mounted gun, and a moment later the injured soldier is nothing but ash. I can't keep my eyes off of number 6. Her strength is mesmerizing. The blue pendant bounces around as the gun in her one hand cuts down more and more soldiers. She rotates to her left and blows a crowl into bits, and then she rotates to her right and takes out several more Mogadorians with a bolt of lightning. The valley is bright and smoky. It's damp and charred. I look around me and can't believe that victory will be ours in just a matter of seconds. Creighton races over and I toss him one of my guns, and instantly he's killing soldiers retreating into the woods. Hector runs with my chest, and soon he and Ella stand behind me. I nod towards number 6 and smile at my friends, thinking that the worst is over, but that's when Ella raises her eyes over my head and her face turns white. Piccans! Ella yells. 4 of the horned monsters run down the mountainside at full speed. Directly below them, number 6 is preoccupied with the few remaining soldiers and the crowl. I uproot as many silver firs as I can and send them like rockets. 4 hit the lead one and it falls backwards into the path of the other 3, and it's crushed and killed in the stampede. Number 6. I shout. She hears me, and I point to the Piccans rumbling down into the valley. She spins with the gun and blows the knees off the monster on the left. It tumbles down faster than the other 2 can run, and number 6 jumps from the Humvee a moment before the dead Piccan flattens it with an echoing crunch. Creighton and I shoot our cannons at the other 2, but they're too fast, splitting up when they reach the valley floor. The clouds roar when number 6 stands, and an enormous bolt of lightning crashes into one of the Piccans, cutting off its arm. It bellows and falls to its knees, but quickly regains its balance and charges ahead with blood spurting from its side. The other Piccan dodges Creighton's fire and rushes in from the other direction. We all run towards number 6, but Hector is too slow with my chest in his arms. The Piccan closes in, and before I can help, the one-armed monster reaches down and snatches Hector and my chest in its fist. No! I scream. Hector! I'm in such shock that when the Piccan throws a lifeless Hector and my chest into the lake, I don't use my telekinesis to stop either from sinking. Number 6 has killed the other Piccan. She turns towards us now and holds both hands up to the sky. A lightning bolt severs the monster's head from its body. For the first time all day, there is silence. I lean into number 6, look at Ella and Creighton and the fire and destruction behind them, and I know that these quiet moments are about to become rare in my life. Your chest, Marina, Creighton says. You have to go get it. I turn to number 6 and hug her. Thank you. Thank you. Number 6. I'm sure we'll get a chance to do it again sometime. She wraps her arms around my shoulders. And just call me 6. I'm Marina. This is Creighton and Ella. She's number 10. Ella steps forward and shrinks to her 7-year-old body. She extends her small hand towards 6, who has her mouth open, speechless. Creighton starts to explain Ella and the second ship to 6 as I walk into the lake. I feel its coolness for the first time. I swim to the middle and dive, descending until the water is devoid of any light and my feet touch the muddy floor. I circle the bottom until I see my chest. I rock it back and forth to dislodge it from the mud's suction. Swimming with one arm, I start to ascend. When the water turns blue, I see Hector's body and wrap my other arm around his waist. Ella and Creighton stand with 6 on the shore. I drop the chest and slap my wet hands on Hector's shin, arm, neck, all around his crushed back, hoping and praying the icy feeling will arrive in my fingers. "He's dead," Creighton says, pulling on my shoulders. I don't give up. Hating myself for not trying the same thing on Adelina, I touch Hector's face. I run my hand through his grey hair. I even levitate him a few centimeters off the sand and try it all over again, but it's true. He's gone. Chapter 33. I'm hovering over grass. I'm floating over a river. I feel wretched and stiff, and every time I dare to open my eyes, I'm either bouncing over a log or gliding up a rocky hill. There's a constant noise, and it takes me several minutes to realize it's the sound of Pittacus's hooves. I'm draped over his back and we're moving quickly through the mountains. "You awake?" 9 asks. I raise my head to see him sitting behind me, both of our chests under his arms. "I don't know what I am," I say, closing my eyes. What happened?" "You ran right into the blue stuff." "That's the last thing on Earth, or Lorien, or anywhere, you want to do." He sounds pissed, like I just tore him away from his own birthday party. "What about Pittacus Ra?" I ask. "Somewhere in the mountain, the coward. I couldn't find another way in. And I looked." I push myself up BK's hide in a panic. "Where's Sam?" "Not a chance, for your buddy is either long gone, or he's hanging upside down staring at the wrong end of a knife." I vomit. Pittacus quickly lowers himself so I can slide off his back, and then I vomit some more. 9 tries to explain the sickness will go away soon, that he's gone through it several times when he tried to escape his cell, that the healing stone seems to be powerless against the force field's effects, but I'm too dizzy with visions of Sam being tortured to listen. My sickness is from my betrayal, not from some Mogadorian force field. I don't think I'll ever be able to forgive myself. It's my fault he went in there, and it's my fault he was left behind. I turned my back on my best friend. "We have to go back," I say. "Sam would go back for me." "Not a chance." "Not yet. You're too much of a mess, and like you said before, we need numbers." I pull myself to my feet but fall onto my hands and knees almost immediately. "You don't even know where we are." "We're a couple of miles from your car," 9 says. He must see the confusion on my face, because he smiles and pats Pittacus's back. "Turns out I can talk to animals." "Who knew?" Pittacus here is leading the way. "Let's jet." I'm too weak to protest and I climb back up. Pittacus gallops as fast as he can, his belly brushing the tops of shrubs and felled trees as he hurdles us over obstacles. My body aches and I clutch his side as we zigzag up and down the mountains and hills, splashing through 2 fast-moving rivers. The stars slowly reveal themselves, high in the sky, and I know that one of them, far, far away, is the slight glimmer of Lorien's own sun, shining its bright light upon a hibernating planet. "So, what's our next move?" 9 asks as we trot among the shadows. I'm silent, wondering what Henri would say our next move would be. I wonder what kind of look would be on his face. Would he beam with pride over me retrieving the chests, rescuing a member of the guard and killing so many mogs in the process, or would he be disappointed in me for not taking on the leader when I had the chance, and for leaving Sam behind? Visions of Sam locked behind one of those steel doors come to me every few seconds, and I watch my tears glide down BK's neck. I hate to think it, but I'd rather he die than be tortured for information about me. I tried to blame Sarah for turning us into the police, but I can only blame myself for contacting her when everyone told me not to. I keep quiet and dig my heels into Bernie Koza's hide and he picks up the pace. 6 is somewhere in Spain, hopefully with another member of the guard. Part of me wants to get on a plane, to go directly to her, but with my escape from a federal facility and my face still on the FBI's most wanted list, I don't see how it's possible. We make it to the SUV, and I painfully dismount. I unlock the back door and 9 quietly loads both chests into the trunk. Crawling across the back seat, disgusted with myself, I ask 9 if he'll drive. I was hoping you'd ask, 9 replies. I hand him the keys and feel the engine come to life. Something is under my body, and I shift to my side to find Sam's dad's glasses. I hold them above my head, and I let the moon reflect in the lenses. I suck in a deep breath and whisper, "We'll see each other again soon, Sam. I promise." And then, when I think things can't get much worse, it hits me almost harder than the blue force field. Oh shit. 6's address for when we meet. It was in Sam's pocket. I'm so stupid. How are we going to find each other now? Over his shoulder, 9 says, "Don't worry, 4. Things are happening for a reason. If we're supposed to meet up with 6 or 5 or whoever, we will. And if Sam is supposed to still be a part of all this, he will be." Bernie Koza jumps into the back seat in his beagle form and licks my cheek. I pat his head and let out a long-drawn sigh, in utter disbelief that after everything that's gone wrong in the last 48 hours, I've also managed to lose the address 6 had written down. I look out the window to see the wind is blowing to the north, and I wonder if it might be telling me something, or, at the very least, pointing me in the right direction as 6 believes it's done for her. Head north, I say. I think north would be good. You got it, boss. 9 steps on the gas and I look over at Bernie Koza, who has curled up and fallen asleep. We bury Hector's body at the bottom of the dam, where the white concrete meets the grass. He once told me that the key to change is letting go of fear, I say, looking into the eyes of Ella, Creighton, and 6. I don't know if I've let go of fear just yet, but the change is happening. It's definitely happening. And I can only hope that you all can help me through it. We're a team, Ella says. Of course we will. After we say our goodbyes, we climb the dam's ladder. We stand on top of the dam, peering down into the valley and the lake. On the other side of the dam is a series of locks holding back a much larger lake, and I can't help but think it's a metaphor for the way I am feeling right now. In front of me lies my past, small and distant and dotted with carnage, threatened to be flooded at any time. Behind me and my fellow guard members, the future is massive and held back by unnatural forces. I turn to 6 and ask, "Do you know a John Smith in Ohio? Is he one of us?" Her smile is wide. "I do know John. He's number 4. I reach for Ella's hand on my right and 6's on my left, and we stand there letting the mountain breeze whip our hair around our faces. Ella looks over at 6 and asks, "Can we go to America?" The charm is broken. I don't see why we can't all be together now. 6 shrugs, turning back to the lake below. Creighton joins us. I hate to say this, but it's the calm before the storm, ladies. We're winning far too many battles for them to ease up now. You're getting too strong for them, and they'll be throwing everything they have at you. No more small armies with a few hundred soldiers and a couple of clumsy beasts. Their ruler will be here soon. Pittacus Ra. Who? I ask. Pittacus Ra. Creighton shakes his head. And I don't think we're ready for him. Then it's settled, I say. We're going to Ohio to be with John Smith. West Virginia, actually. In exactly 2 weeks, Six says. I'm not sure that's wise just yet. Creighton begins walking away. We need to gather the others first. Six walks after him. That sounds good and all, but I have no idea where they are. I do, Creighton says, not turning around. I also know where our chimeras are. If Pittacus Ra thinks this is going to be easy, he's got another thing coming. We follow him, taking the first of many steps down the opposite side of the dam.